It's time for Lawrenceburg Almost Live with your hosts, Tiffany and Tia.
Welcome to Lawrenceburg Live. I'm Tiffany Azanero.
I'm Tia Chilton.
And we're live again today.
Yay! Or at least we think we are. Oh,
Are we live?
I don't know, because I don't see anything that looks like us.
Huh. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a little bit delayed.
Yeah, maybe that is.
I think that's all it is. But I think we're live.
Yes.
And we've got some people watching with, hello. Oh, look.
Already?
Jeff and Kimberly and Bridget and Jennifer and Tara. Oh, and Kendall. Kendall, I printed out my email today.
Why can I not see what you're seeing?
See? They're right. Oh, no, you need to refresh, girlfriend. Refresh.
That's what I was like. I don't see anything.
Refresh. Uh-oh.
This is why
She's
does
not
that.
a good multitasker, I don't think.
I am. I just don't want to be distracted.
Okay, I like being live because I like to be able to see. See, Bridget, we're live.
See, nothing's coming up. I'm just saying. I don't know why.
Well.
Okay, we got lots of stuff to talk about. We'll worry about that later.
We have a big show for you all today.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about everything. The most important thing that everybody's been talking about all this week. And I know she can't talk about it, so I'm only going to talk about it a little bit. Her name is Coberly Bull. And she is a wonderful lady from New Jersey who took the time to, after she got some harassing messages from a resident here in Lawrenceburg, and contacted Kentucky State Police and said, hey, I'm getting these horrible messages about my children on Facebook. And our very own Trooper Josh Satterley, who we all know as Opie, who's usually on here when we're doing it.
Opie.
Yeah, so he's
one of our best watchers.
Yeah, he is. And he was with me Thursday morning. We were all in court together Thursday morning when all this started. And I knew what he was working on, and but we had no idea where it was going to lead through some good police work. So we want to thank her, Miss Bull from New Jersey, for taking time out to call all the way down here to Kentucky, because she could have just ignored it and went on, and that would have been the end of it, and we never would have known any different. But she didn't. So that's a perfect example of see something, say something, which I've been preaching as a police officer for years now. So she did that, and then Josh kind of took it and ran with it, and they were able to do an investigation and find out that there were some plans in the works, and they were able to stop that, and he is now incarcerated, and he has been arraigned, and he has a court date coming up. So that's really all we can talk about. It's just thankful for her and for Josh and for all the other law enforcement.
KST, yes.
All the in Lawrenceburg PD that helped, and the sheriff's office, the SROs, and all of the police officers in town who've been working every morning and every afternoon as school's been coming in and out, and the administrators for being willing to listen to law enforcement, because sometimes if they don't take it seriously and they don't do what they're supposed to do, then it doesn't matter what we say. So thank you, Sheila Mitchell.
Sheila Mitchell, you get big props for having big shoulders,
yes,
because you get a lot of complaints.
Yes. So and we love Sheila.
We do.
She has to make a lot of tough decisions sometimes, and I understand people get frustrated, and I get that, and sometimes I get frustrated too for things that happen I have no control over, because I'm a control freak like that. So it's Tiffany. And so,
big time.
Yeah. So, but she has to make a lot of important decisions for a lot of people. So we're thankful for her too. So,
yes.
Yeah. All right. So now let's talk about sports, because that's our favorite thing.
Yes, we love to talk about sports. Okay. Big Bearcat win Friday night.
Again.
Oh, yeah. Again. Mm-hmm.
Again. So now they finally decided that we're number 1 in Class 5A.
According to the KHSAA website, we are number 1 in the Class 5A standings.
And what is the Courier Journal and the Herald Leader saying?
I don't know. I didn't look it up.
Yeah, so we're finally number 1. So this week they are playing at...
Our princess is watching. Oh, Whitney.
Whitney. I was like, no, princess, no, she's at home. The other princess. So we are playing North Oldham County this Friday night. Is that going to be live, Mr. Producer? It will not be live because it's away. Oh, we'll be covering it all. I'm sorry.
Oh.
He must have other duties and responsibilities.
Gosh, Mr. Producer.
Yeah, he's got other duties and responsibilities
I
too.
know, but gosh.
It's hard when it's away because we don't know what's
hard.
going on.
He spoils us.
So, however, Tasha's pretty good about posting on Facebook. If you're not friends with Tasha Herod, our cousin, she's pretty good about giving us score updates and stuff from when it's going on while she's sitting there.
In the middle of her eating some candy.
She doesn't.
No,
eat
she
candy.
doesn't. She's on keto.
She
I
does the
forget.
keto diet. She's gonna be so
she's
mad.
good.
She'll be like,
you don't eat candy.
she's gonna be like,
I'm
you
sorry.
saying I eat candy?
You
No, I
don't.
haven't been eating candy.
No, you've been doing good, girl.
We sit there and eat candy in front of her. Yeah, because her mom always brings us candy.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the Bearcats are 9-0.
9-0.
9-0. I don't know. Have they ever been 9-0?
Bearcats.
Have they ever been 9-0? Because you know,
Mr. Producer.
2 times.
2 times. In the history of the school,
They've been
gone
undefeated. Okay.
Two
Okay,
other
2
times.
times.
When was it?
34 years ago was the last 30 or 40 years the
30
last
or
time that they
40.
went undefeated in the football season. So we don't want to jinx them or nothing. Right. So, so we're happy. So yay, go boys. It was a great time the other night, even though it was cold and it was rainy. I do have one little pet peeve though.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so now's when I'm going to call out the administrators and the athletic directors. So Chris and Rick and all them. No. It's not a big complaint. It's just, here's my thing.
Make it quick.
Friday night was senior night.
Uh-huh.
And so senior night used to be during halftime. And you have, the crowd is there at halftime. Well, now they have it before the game starts.
It's been before the game.
Not always.
Uh-huh.
Not my generation.
My generation it was.
Ours was during halftime. So my point is, at halftime you have a lot more people there.
I know, but the boys have to be zoned in. Like they got to focus.
Yeah, so how is it doing it 10 minutes before the game starts any different than doing it in the middle of the game?
Because they got to go get their halftime speech.
Well, they can still have time to do that.
I don't think so.
My point is, it was raining before the game the other night, and a lot of people didn't get to see it, or they didn't realize it was senior night, so they didn't get to see it. So you have the senior football players and the senior band members who were out there. No,
And
did the cheerleaders do it too? I
Yes.
thought they do theirs for basketball.
they do.
Okay, so cheerleaders.
football.
I didn't see it. That's my whole point. If they did it during halftime, I would have seen it. So I wish they would do it during halftime. And I understand the logistics of doing it beforehand. I'm just saying I personally don't like it. Not that my opinion matters.
Well, maybe they could do the football players before the game and then everybody else at halftime.
I want to do them all at halftime.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I know.
The players got to be focused.
I'm not saying it's not going to happen, or that's going to happen. I'm just saying I wish it was going to happen.
I don't agree with that pet peeve.
I don't care what she thinks. Okay,
Anyway.
so.
Next football
Jinx.
team.
Yes, UK
UK beat Vandy.
barely.
No, listen. There were some bad calls. Now, granted,
There were some bad plays too.
I've done a lot of listening to KSR because I was in the middle of my 25-year class reunion.
Yes.
And I had me a good time.
Yes, I'm
Yes,
sure
we
you did.
did.
We were texting.
We had a good time.
There was-
ACHS class of 1993 still got it. Myrtle was there, Brianna was there, and Susie was there.
But they were feeling it Sunday.
They were not in my class, but they came to the reunion.
They were feeling it Sunday.
I'm just
So my
kidding,
point
girls.
is-
Big shout out to y'all.
So my point is, there was some bad playing going on too.
Thank you, Miss Bridget. It is always before the game with hoops and stuff. Thought so.
Okay, Bridget, you know at Mercer we did it during halftime.
Well, we ain't in Mercer.
I know, but why can't we be?
Toto, we in Lawrenceburg.
You ain't in Kansas either.
Kansas is going down. They got busted.
For what?
You haven't been
No.
heard the testimony? Bill Self is getting busted. He's been cheating.
Oh? No, I didn't know that.
Anyway, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, okay, so anyway. So this Saturday, the Wildcats play Missouri State?
No, Missouri.
Missouri. Not
Just
state.
Mizzou.
Yeah, just Mizzou. Missouri. One of them states out there that's not close to us. Technically it is, but they're kind of on another side
They're
of the world.
attached.
Yeah, I know, technically it is. But in our world,
It's on the western end of the state.
Right. That's like a whole nother state to us. You know, once you get
Well,
past...
it is a whole other state.
No, I mean the western part of the Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
Once you get past Louisville, it's like you're in a whole other state.
Okay.
Because it doesn't look like the eastern part of Kentucky. They don't talk the same. See, Mr. Producer's agreeing with me.
I know. One of my besties lives in Patica.
I know, and you never get to see her because she's way down there in Patica.
I know.
You never heard us call it that, Mr. Paducah?
Mr. Paducah.
We had a dispatcher one time, way back when. I was a lowly little dispatcher, a long time ago. And she called it, she didn't run from here, and she didn't know how to pronounce it. And she gave the town back as Paducci.
Paducci.
And we were like, oh, it's Paducci. I didn't know we had a Paducci, Kentucky. So they play Missouri. They play Saturday at 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
And it's at Missouri.
Go Big Blue. We got to win. We got to win. Okay, really we need to cheer for Georgia because we need Georgia to beat Florida.
Well, we are first in the SEC
know.
East now because I guess Georgia got beat this past weekend,
No,
right?
Georgia got beat.
The weekend before that? Maybe that's why.
But
Okay.
we need Georgia to beat Florida because if Georgia beats Florida, then we are for sure playing in the East Finals.
But we beat Florida, so what difference does it make?
Because we need Florida to have 2 losses.
Gotcha. I got you. Okay, I'm following you. Okay, so good luck, Wildcats. What else? All right, I think that's all sports we got. Let's talk
it?
about. I think so. Let's talk about local stuff.
Okay, tell us.
Okay, so this weekend.
Oh my gosh, y'all. Can you believe it's the end of October?
And it feels like November.
Shoo.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's cold. So this weekend, October the 26th through the 28th, is the last chance this year to bungee jump from Young's High Bridge with Vertigo Bungee.
Oh my gosh, I watched, Kendall had it live one day.
I thought you were going to say you watched Troy Young do it.
No.
I was like, how did I miss it?
That would be awesome.
I know, right?
But I
With the
wa-
Troy Young for
Kendall-
mayor son.
Kendall had it on, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting ready to watch somebody jump. I'd pee my pants.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was younger. Too old for that now. So if you don't do it this weekend, you have to wait until May of 2019 to do it.
Oh, that sounds like a long time.
Well, because they're only open during good weather, so they won't be
Is
open
it
again
going to be
until
good weather
then.
this weekend? Anybody know?
No, it's supposed to rain.
Oh.
Cold and rain. So, you can register and get more information at vertigobungee.net.
Okay.
Okay. So,
This is all Kendall's information that we printed out today, Kendall.
yes, this coming Monday is the LEL Wire Workshop at 6 o'clock Monday at the library. That's the
think
one I
that
want my
looks
husband to
so
go to,
cool.
that he kind of looked at me like I was nuts. So you have to contact Kendall to register for the workshop and get your name on the list for the limited supply of lighting that will be given out for free.
Yeah, you can get that for free. It's that cool lighting that I think you can even put it on yourself if you want to walk. Oh, there's Kendall right
Yes.
there. Oh, look.
Does he know we're here? He's
I don't
not
know.
looking.
He's not. He's not watching our show. How dare he?
He's done this before too. Is he's walked by in the middle of our show, wasn't even watching.
No.
We're talking about you. And
There he
don't
is.
even know.
There's him and his wife.
He ain't looking.
He ain't looking.
He ain't looking.
Oh.
They got their doggy. They're going for a nice walk.
Anyway.
So you can contact him if you want to do that. Go to the L-Wire workshop. All right. So then we also have, before this Friday, I almost forgot this. He told us about there's a new series, a Hulu series. I'm sorry, it's not new. It's a Hulu series called The Small Business Revolution, which is looking for a town for their 4th season. It focuses on revitalizing downtowns, and whatever town they choose for the show will have $500,000 spent on revitalization.
There you go.
Efforts. I couldn't say it a while ago. He submitted a nomination form yesterday, but the deadline is Friday, and the more nominations that they receive from Lawrenceburg is the better. So the link to the website where you can nominate Lawrenceburg is on the tourism Facebook page, but you have to submit your own nomination by midnight this Friday. Today's Wednesday, obviously.
Can you imagine what we could do with $500,000
For
to
downtown?
revitalize Lawrenceburg?
A lot.
I mean, a lot. So get on there and nominate Lawrenceburg.
I did see the other day, though, that we're getting ready to get new sidewalks between now and the spring.
We still could do so much.
I know, but
So
I'm
get on there.
I'm
That's
happy
awesome.
I'm
Yes.
happy that we're getting new sidewalks.
Yes, so get on there and nominate Lawrenceburg.
Right, absolutely.
Everybody do it. And then share it so people can find it easy.
Right. So then the Anderson County Art Trail is coming up on Saturday, November the 3rd from 10 to 5. This year there are 3 stops, and you can buy works from local artists and experience live demonstrations and some other fun activities. The 3 stops on this year's trail are the Frame Clinic and Art Alley, down here on West Court Street. Maynard Studios. I'm really disappointed because I want to go to that, but I'm going to be out of town that weekend. I want to go to Maynard Studios, which is at 1986 Fox Creek Road, and Mariana Brown Pottery at 2038 Fox Creek Road. So, you can go do that on Saturday, November the 3rd from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Then that night at Heavens to Betsy, they are going to have author R.J. Deacon is returning for a one-night galley reading that night at 8 o'clock. So you got your whole day planned out.
It's like a psychic reading.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right?
Yes, our special guest
I'm going to be gone.
Yes, you're going to be gone to Chicago. You'll be back by that time Saturday night.
Do you think that I'm going to be worth anything Saturday night?
No, because I wasn't. So she's going on the Chicago trip with the 7th graders this year. I went 2 years ago, and it whooped my butt. And I got home Saturday afternoon, and I was so tired from spending it with 200 7th graders in like 36 hours. I went home and took a nap at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon and slept for like 3 hours because it was awful.
Oh, my.
The kids were great, don't get me wrong. It's just so much, all the stuff is packed in.
Packed in.
You leave early Friday morning, you go all day Friday night, you sleep on the floor at the museum, and then you get up. Yes.
No, I am excited.
Then you get up Saturday morning and you go do stuff Saturday morning, then you come home, and you get home Saturday afternoon, and you're just exhausted. So, yeah, you may not feel like doing that
I know,
Saturday.
but I'm excited to go with my D.
So, that's all I have over here. What you got over there? Anything?
Okay, so do you want to talk about the pets of the week?
Yes, let's talk about pets of the week.
Okay, so we have the Woody Dixie Pets of the Week.
Yes. So Maddox is a 5 to 6 year old Great Dane Pit Bull mix.
Oh my gosh, you all listen. I had a Great Dane. It was best dog ever besides Woody. Mm-hmm. He was Duke, and he was great.
Well, I'm guessing that he's pretty big if he's a Great Dane mix.
He was awesome.
And it says he only weighs around 60 pounds, though. He was found by animal control in terrible shape and could barely walk. But after a visit with the vet and plenty of TLC, he's healed up nicely. This happy-go-lucky boy is a real sweetheart, and his tail is always wagging. Mm-hmm. He's friendly with other dogs, cats, and loves people. He's underweight and will need plenty of nutritious food to reach a healthy weight. Excuse me. He also has a rare condition with his back feet where his toes flex too much, causing his toe pads to roll forward.
It's Opie.
There are no treatments for this, but it does not seem to cause any pain, although it does give Maddox a goofy gait sometimes. He would be a great fit for most families. Tawny is the kitty cat of the week, and Tawny is the 8 to 10-month-old kitten. I cannot read her writing.
Oh, I might have to do this.
Yeah,
my mama even told me my handwriting is horrible.
Yeah, I can't read that. What's not horrible? I just can't read it.
She's an 8 to 10-month-old kitten with unique markings. She is a Duluth Calico tabby, and her beauty makes her eye-catching.
See, you can't read your own writing either.
Maybe I should go to medical school.
I'm just saying.
Tawny likes to play, but is pretty mellow and laid back. She loves to be held and purrs when she gets attention. Tawny is great with other cats.
Okay. So, there. So we got the pets out of the way. So now, do you want to introduce our... You don't need all that, right? We already done all that.
Right.
Oh, you're going to talk about this.
Oh, okay. So next Wednesday, a week from today, which, what are we going to do? We're not going to have a show next Wednesday.
Oh, it's Halloween. We're not. We'll have to do it some other time, won't we?
Yeah, so
because next week is Halloween.
Next week is Halloween.
Trick or treat. You're going to be downtown with all the kiddos.
Yes. So Halloween will be from 5 to 7 downtown. I think they shut down Main Street from 5 to 7. But this Friday night is the adult trick or treat from 5 to 8. So dress up, you adults. Come out, come have a date night, and come downtown. And the shops will be open, and restaurants will be open, and I've heard it's just a fabulous time. So that's this Friday.
Okay, so there's lots of people on here that I need to say something to. So Rhonda Lee, she's thankful for the lady in New Jersey and our law enforcement. Ed McKee says he's out and about. Beth Hughes is watching.
Of course she is.
Wes Clevenger is watching. My buddy Wes, his daughter is Julia.
Yes.
Ed McKee says the year that Brian Klink played was 10-0 during football.
I was in high school.
So it was 30 years ago.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not. It depends on what year.
Thank you for opening that door, and I just walked right on in.
Anyway.
Yeah. Emily Davenport, she says, you two are cracking me up. That's because we're
I
easily
am.
amused. Stephanie Johnson Aldridge is watching. Jessica Rakestraw, shoemaker, who runs the Ready Care Clinic.
Oh my gosh, you're my hero.
Yes, Jessica's awesome because she knows I send her like every customer ever. Teresa goes to church with us. Teresa Cole. Stephanie Combs Harlow, that's our cousin. She's watching. She lives in Harrodsburg. See, we do have most of people.
Listen.
What?
Linda, we can't go through all these.
Okay, I know, but I was looking for this because Desiree chimed right in there just right in time because I just hit the interested thing on there today. The Anderson County Community Theater play is coming up next month, so we will talk about it starting next week.
Yes.
Desiree.
Yes.
So it's going to be at the Southwell Street Funeral Home.
Okay.
So I guess that means they've done the T.B. Rippey house and now they're doing the Southwell Street Funeral Home. So the next one has to be at your mama's house, right?
That's 3 in a row.
Since we're doing the 3 houses there in a row. And Beth says we need to bungee jump, and I'm like, no.
No. Okay, listen, we
just
have
saying.
a special guest today.
Yes,
y'all.
we do.
We have a Halloween theme today. We talk almost every week about the Ghost Walk. And today we have with us Jeff Aldridge! Yay!
Hello.
He's been patiently waiting over there for us to get done with our chitter chatter.
That's fine. I want you all chitter chatter.
And we put him on a stool that she's lower
I'm
than
on a
us.
stool.
Look, he's
Look.
itty bitty with us.
Show me your shirt. Show me your shirt. Lawrenceburg Ghost Walk.
What?
This is more like T.B. Rippey, he says.
Yep.
Who are these supposed to be?
So
be?
this is more like the lady, kind of represents the lady in the Anderson News, the old Anderson News building that we.
Can we
Did.
see?
On Main Street?
Yes, we can kind of see. Oh,
Okay.
we've got the picture of
He's
it.
Got the graphic there, and then this one over here, I'm not real sure. So to be
He
determined.
kind of looks
He could be
he's
like
a,
Albert. He's in the
Maybe.
courthouse.
No, but-
Albert will
Albert
probably be
was a
skinnier.
Civil
He was
War
a Civil War
soldier.
soldier, so
This guy's serving bourbon.
yeah, he's more of a bartender. So
He's a
Yeah.
spirits dude.
you know, he's a
Yeah.
spirits guy.
Yeah.
But
So tell us all about the Ghost Walk.
okay, so you have 3 more chances to come
Yes.
on the Ghost Walk.
This Friday, the 26th.
Friday at 8, Saturday at 8, and then I'm doing a special Halloween walk at 8 o'clock. So
Okay.
the
And where do they
31st
need to
at
meet you at?
8. We start and end at the T.B. Rippey Mansion,
Okay.
right beside the Gash Memorial Chapel.
Yes,
Right. That's why I'm like, hey, we got all these
That's
houses right there together.
But, we starting in there. We're not going to turn anybody away,
Okay.
even though we do get really full around this time of year. Not going to turn anybody away. So to show up if you don't make reservations, or you can call 502-510-8777.
Okay, but how long does it take?
About 2 hours.
Okay. And what all should they expect to do?
To
and
walk.
talk about.
To
okay.
walk.
So you're going to start at TV, but then you come downtown?
We
is
come
that
down
correct?
Main Street and we'll talk about several different locations, historical stuff, haunting stuff.
Okay.
I actually show you evidence that we've captured in pretty much every location that we talk about. So
Okay.
you'll see videos and audio that we've captured on investigations in the place. So that's kind of what it's
Fantastic.
about. So even though, and then at the end, we'll go inside the T.B. Rippey Mansion and we'll see if we can get our own stuff.
Oh, so they can actually go in TV.
That's right. We
Okay,
go
now
every
listen,
walk.
I've been in the TV Rippey Mansion.
Mhm.
I went on the 3rd floor.
Uh-huh.
There's something up there.
3rd floor's hot.
Yeah,
In the summertime, it's
literally,
really hot. Yeah.
literally,
There's
and
something up
figuratively, it's hot.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
3rd floor is that was the servants' kind of quarters. That's where
Yes.
the house servants
Okay.
lived. So it's active. The whole house is pretty active.
Okay.
Different things, different locations, all throughout. But it's so big. It's just you have to be where it is.
So now, so at the end is when they go in the TV Rippey
Mm-hmm.
house, correct? So how much is it to go?
It's $10 a person.
Okay. So does any of that money go back to the TV
Yes.
Rippey revitalization
Yes.
thing? So
Portion
You're really
of,
good at that word now.
There you go.
revitalization.
Yeah.
Well, finally, I got my tongue untangled.
A portion of every ticket goes back to the house.
Okay.
We've been doing that since we started. So,
Okay.
Yeah. So we.
Is that
we try
tax
to help them.
deductible, or is part of it, or
It's
none
just,
of it?
It's
Okay.
just a finance.
It's just okay, I was meaning
They're
the portion that he was giving
non-profit,
back.
I believe.
Right,
maybe.
that's right.
So,
That's the reason why I was
yeah,
asking,
it's-
because I thought the portion that he's given back to them. So.
Yeah, so it's it helps them, and it really helped them when they didn't have anything going on, and it was just kind of a shell of its former
Right.
self. So, but now they're starting to get more rentals and things
Yes.
like that.
I think
so.
they're already scheduling for next year. I think we talked about that
Yep, so-
earlier in one of our shows.
And it's
Maybe.
the first floor is totally done, so it's totally redone.
Is
and
the kitchen
floors
finished?
Are done.
Last time I
every
was in
every
there,
bit
the
of
kitchen
it's
wasn't finished.
100% done on the first floor.
Okay.
And I guess the next step is the second floor, which again, it's going to be its own challenge.
Sure.
But yeah, it's cool to kind of see it from 7 years ago when I first started to investigate the house to now, and it's
It's a beautiful
amazing.
house if you've never been in there. It's beautiful.
Very cool.
Okay, so do you take people to the courthouse?
Yes, we go to the courthouse. That is the last stop before we go to the Rippey house. And we talk about the courthouse. We talk about
Albert.
Albert. And the
Okay,
ghost.
tell us a little bit about Albert.
Okay, so
I love Albert.
so anybody that Albert is the name of the resident goes
Yes.
to the courthouse. That's what the people that work inside of it
Uh-huh.
named that. And it's all kind of starts from B.J. Crane did a little bit of research and found that there was a Civil War soldier,
Yes.
a Confederate guerrilla, not the
'Cause he's-
animal kind, the
Yes.
actual road.
He's all about the Civil
Yeah.
War, so he knows anything about Civil
So
War.
he found that there was a Confederate guerrilla by the name of Albert McClure, and long story short, he passed away there.
Okay.
And then I kind of went and dug deeper into that whole historical part of that. So you'll hear about that on the walk, but that's what they call him. They call him Albert, and you'll get to see one of Troy Young's pictures that he took probably 8 or 9 years ago now. Of there's a man standing on the roof of the courthouse.
Courthouse.
So
I think I've seen that picture.
yeah. So that's
Everybody talks
a lot
about
of
Albert.
stuff
that's in
goes
the
on
courthouse.
there, and it's still to this day. It's very active. Stuff happens quite frequently, and I hear all
Stuff
kinds
doesn't
of
happen to me.
Well, you need to.
But I've heard stuff has happened to other
It
people.
happens
does
in
happen
the
to me.
courthouse.
Yep. And the courthouse, honestly, is probably got the darkest history out of any building in this area.
Well, that would be believable because
of the jail.
things that happened.
The jail
Right.
was always attached, and then in the 80s they tore it down and they rebuilt the little annex out back where now you enter the courthouse.
Right.
And but yeah, there were suicides and murders and everything in the
Absolutely.
jail. So a lot of people
and,
died there.
You know, and lots of times the courthouse was the central place that everybody would come downtown.
Yep.
You know, and it's in our particular downtown, it's literally sitting in the middle of
In
downtown.
the center of downtown.
Yeah. So you had lots of stuff going on.
So I mean, you know, there's been a lot go on there over the years. You'll hear some of that stuff, but real creepy place at night for sure.
Oh, I love this. Okay, make Tia a believer.
That's hard to do. I mean, without going
I'm not saying they
somewhere.
don't exist. I'm saying it's hard for me to believe in that because I've never experienced anything that I thought was a ghost
You exist,
or a
right?
spirit. Right.
Right.
But I've never experienced anything that I thought was a ghost or a spirit. So it's hard for me to grasp and believe that.
So,
and I'm not saying that it doesn't. I'm
Here's
just saying
one
for
thing
me.
to think about, and I always kind of bring this up when people ask questions or whatever. But Einstein.
Look, Jeff Farmer. I'm in
Did-
love with Jeff Aldridge.
I love Jeff Farmer.
You got a
Jeff Farmer
bromance
is my
with
buddy.
somebody?
Yes.
But, you know, the one thing that Einstein said was energy cannot be destroyed, it can only change form. So,
Sure.
Ooh, that is so good.
When we go away, you
Yes.
know, when we
Yes.
pass
Listen to
away
us on
or
Lawrenceburg
die or
Live.
whatever, we have to go.
Right. So you have an
Our
aura.
energy has to go
right,
somewhere.
Right. Energy. Yep.
You know, and I try to, the ghost walk is all, I don't get into religion, I don't get into any of that stuff. It's simply just science and
Sure.
and all that kind of stuff. Because everybody have their own beliefs about what happens and where people
And
go.
I have a couple of girlfriends who are all into the whole energy thing, and it's not that I don't believe them because I do believe them. When she says, you know, I saw this energy, and I'm like, okay, I believe her.
Now-
I've just never seen that.
RJ, I've used him. He's going to be at Heavens to Betsy, and I've used him at a couple of places. He's been to the Rippey Mansion. He's been to the Anderson News Building. He's been to a
The
couple
old
of different
Anderson
places.
News
Yeah, the
Building?
old Anderson News Building, which is crazy haunted.
The one here on Main Street
Yeah.
is that the only one that I know of?
Yeah.
That which bill?
It's where Nanrick
It's empty
is.
right now.
Nanrick,
Yeah.
yes, Nanrick.
But I mean, but you got to think about it like this. There's a lot of buildings down through this area that have activity. Now, I can't feature every one of them
Sure.
because some of them don't give me enough where I can just throw it out there.
Right.
But some of these 100 years old at least. So
Which leads us to the
they've got a lot of
hotel.
history. Yeah.
So tell us about the hotel.
So-
Tell us
So-
about
hotel.
Anderson Hotel.
So the Anderson Hotel got associated with that a few years ago, and it was another building I'd always wanted to get inside of and research because it's weird and big and old. And hotels in general usually have
sign
activity.
is just weird.
Yeah, the sign
creepy.
is actually from around the late
is
50s or
fantastic.
60s.
Oh, I know, but it's just
So
creepy.
yeah, I kind of did research, and when you start to dig into this research, first off, with the ghost walk in general, I wanted to make sure everything was accurate.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back and I read newspapers and looked at records and looked at maps and looked at everything, because the history books for the county are not exactly
I'm all about the
accurate.
history stuff.
So,
Yeah, I'm all about that.
You know, and that's what people appreciate too about the walk. There's people that come on there with their wives or their husbands, and they're like, "Well, I didn't even care about ghosts, but the history was
Right,
cool."
right.
So, but I tried to dig into that, and I tried to find all kinds of cool stuff out about these buildings. And in doing that with the hotel, I found that there was very little. So I started to have to talk to former managers and residents and things like that, and that's how I got a lot of stories.
Okay.
And then I've got it down to probably about 12 or 13 deaths that happened there. But you got to realize this is only from probably late 60s to late 80s that there were that many deaths.
Okay.
It was open from 1935-ish all the way to the late 80s in some form for people to live there, stay there, whatever.
Okay.
So who knows? There's a whole gap of history there from the 30s to the 60s.
Now, my
Who knows?
understanding there is there a tie to a young lady?
Okay, so
Understand?
there's a mattress up there that's covered in blood. Now, yeah. So the bloody
get you one of those
the
if you
bloody mattress.
Yeah,
as
if you
we
want
call it.
somewhere, we can
Yeah.
come up with one of those.
So here's the story behind that. We started to do research when we first got up there. We just kind of looked around. We noticed there was a lot of personal belongings up there, and I found that one of the former lease sheets that was up there for the tenants, and it said that if you didn't pay your rent, they would lock your room, they would keep your things.
Sure.
So that's why there's so many personal belongings. Well, there was only one bed that was still laid out and made up there, and so we pulled the comforter back, and there was this huge stain, and then there was a smaller stain on the other side. So there was a
I don't
story.
find that creepy. I find that disgusting.
Well, you know,
I'm like,
it would just be a stained mattress without the other story, but Betsy was talking to the former owner, and he told her that a lady had slit her wrist, bled out up there. She was 19. It was in the late 80s.
Okay.
So he was very adamant that he threw that mattress away.
Okay.
Very adamant. So I brought luminol in,
Okay.
which is the
Yes.
chemical
Yes.
you use
Mhm.
to
Yes.
make
To
latent
show.
blood stains
Yes.
show.
Yes.
And I sprayed the mattress, and the
Yes.
big stain glowed. And you could almost see the void where the arm would have been stretched out, and then the smaller stain ran off the side of the bed.
Okay.
So 80% chance that's the mattress that she died on.
Okay.
We found another mattress that was
But we're
stuffed down.
choosing to keep it now
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's up
because
there.
it's disgusting.
Well, and the biggest thing is
It's history.
people are like, why would he keep that, or why would they keep that? And I'm like, well, how do you get rid of a bloody mattress easily? You know, you can't just take it and
A
just.
match will do it quickly.
Yeah, well, yeah, but
I'm just
you know,
saying.
you take it and you're just like, well, it's just an old hotel. We'll just keep it up there. So
Okay.
it was awesome. Now we found another mattress down the back staircase. It had blood on it, but it was more blood spatter than somebody laying there in a pool of blood. And then there was a tub up there that had blood all in it. And it
I
was
think
one
it's
of the
just more
tubs from the
disgusting
30s.
people.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
No, I think
disgusting
it's
people.
like
There's a lot of stuff we don't know up there. And
Okay.
I would say your other deaths happened prior to history. I mean,
Okay.
you lose things to history every
Sure,
day.
sure.
The Anderson News was not covering a lot of stuff that was going on up there. They didn't cover the suicides. They didn't cover a lot of things. There was a guy that hung himself in a closet up there. And I found out where and how that happened by simply talking to people that were there and went up there.
Well, that's not unusual for
And
them not
actually,
to
your
cover.
father was one of those that went up there and
he was the corner for years.
yeah, he was a corner. So
Well, and it's not unusual for them not to cover suicides
Right.
because
it's
it's
just-
not
yeah,
criminal
it's not
and
news.
there's no reason to cover it. Right.
But you know, they just didn't cover anything up there. And I remember my grandmother telling me a lot of times when I was little, you know, I would ask her about who lived up here, who did this, who did that, and she was like, oh, well, there's, you know, that's just people that live up there that can't afford to live other places or whatever.
Sure.
It's just, and I did find out that it was a very cheap place to stay.
Mm-hmm.
You could stay there in the 70s for about $5 a week.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
$7 if you had a refrigerator in your room.
Okay.
And so that brought in a lot of people. I've got stories from, you know, people coming out of mental hospitals and things like that, people on fixed income. So you had a very diverse
How many
population.
do you know how many it would hold at the time?
Well, there's 26 original rooms.
Okay.
That's from the 30s.
Wow.
And
I realized it was that big.
they can't change. I mean, the rooms cannot be changed over the years. People ask the question, well, why didn't they do something else with it? Well, it's because a lot of those walls are load-bearing walls,
Sure.
so if they knock them down, then the roof's going to
Sure.
come in. Because how they built the hotel, and we're staring at it out the window
Yeah,
here.
not the one because it's up there.
So how they built the hotel was there was a fire in the late 20s.
Okay.
It wiped out the 3 buildings that sat on that lot. There was about 3 or 4 or 5 years where nothing sat there.
Okay.
And it's because they didn't mark the property lines
Okay.
whenever they cleaned up the rubble. So nobody knew what
Which one
property
was
was
which.
what.
Right.
So then eventually they determined that through court. They built 1-story buildings, and then they came in and put a 2nd story in a few years later, and that was the hotel.
Okay.
So it was kind of an addition, and then they refaced the front of the building. If you see it in town with the bricks, they popped off the fronts of the other buildings and put the bricks in. That way it all matched.
Okay.
And the green hotel sign was put in probably in the 60s, early 60s from what I can gather, because I've got old pictures.
And
of
I
it.
love the fact that they've not done anything with that sign. That
Yeah.
it's been there all the
No,
time.
it used to work when we, the tubes are broken because of the tree, so some of the gas has leaked out, but when we first got up there, we plugged it in, it was a very, very risky situation plugging that old
Burn
sign
the building
in.
down.
Yeah.
But it did blink. It said hotel on one side, and then there was just HOT on the other side,
Yeah.
which it is a hot hotel in the
Hotel, right.
summertime. Okay, but
At least it wasn't a hole.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think now it may be Ho Hotel.
Well,
A
and,
whole
you know,
hotel.
and through restoration efforts, that kind of stuff can be redone. They can just replace it.
Right.
They replace that tubing. That's not
Yeah.
unusual. For
And
those of you
We
who
could do
watch,
it with that L wire.
There you
Yes.
go.
Yeah.
But the cool part about doing the
Runs off
ghost
batteries, never
walk and the research and all that is simply learning things that people don't know. So, I've become an accidental historian just
Through
by
doing that.
doing that.
But
So
now
I've
you're
been-
from here, right?
Yeah,
You're from here,
born and
Lawrenceburg.
raised.
Of all
and I've
the
been-
Waldridges.
No, when did you
I was
graduate,
actually
Jeff?
from Spencer County.
Oh, okay.
99 is when I graduated.
99.
Okay.
You're
But,
a baby.
yeah.
Well, I know there's lots of Waldridges from the western part of the county.
Yeah, mine are all from Spencer County. So
We're gonna hold that against you.
we migrated up, and we're here now. But the cool part about the Lawrenceburg area is figuring out there's so many urban legends about things in town. Like
Sure.
people talk about there's tunnels that go across the street in Main Street. You hear that a lot of times. People are like, "Well, aren't there
I have
tunnels?"
never heard that.
Me
Tell
either.
us.
I've
Tell
never
us.
heard
So
that.
I hear this a lot,
Never heard
and
that.
it's people that there's tunnels that go across and connect the Rippey House and the Dowling House. I've heard it a ton. I don't know which era that
Okay,
came about.
I lived beside that
Yeah,
for years.
but
I never heard
there's
that.
no
Right.
tunnels.
Right. I was going to say
the-
that would be pretty easy to
I've been
find.
in the basement of both houses. Now, there is a very weird structure in the back of the Rippey Mansion, in the basement of the Rippey Mansion. There's rumors that it was a speakeasy during Prohibition, and there's probably some truth to that.
I was gonna say,
because
that's not hard to believe.
It's family rumors, and where the
not hard to
basement is you open the basement door, you can actually see one of the old pulleys still hanging there where there was a false floor that went in, so it looked like a
Okay.
closet. And then when you go down into the basement, there's still evidence of gaslight fixtures in the basement. Why would you need gas lights in a basement, that era? But then also there's an interior room in the basement that has bars on the windows where they had something very important locked over the years, which was
You mean like
probably
alcohol?
bourbon.
alcohol?
Probably bourbon. We do know that Miss Dowling bootlegged out of the house across the street because she was caught. The federal government actually caught her and recovered all this liquor. And they went to trial. They lost the liquor. There was this lawsuit. It was wild.
Jeff knows
Okay.
so much history.
Oh, it's crazy,
Okay,
but-
so
yeah.
Jeff and I get to talking sometimes, and we talk about like old criminal
everything,
cases, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what I would give to talk to my dad, because my dad was coroner for years, and so he worked on these cases
The
that Jeff
stuff
has
that he
case files
knows,
on,
yeah.
and I'm like, oh, just to pick his brain would be just wonderful. I mean, I would just love to have him back, period.
Because-
but, just to be able to sit down and talk with Jeff about the stuff that he's looked into, and then talk to Dad. it was
Because here's the
awesome.
thing: is he probably went up there and took the lady out.
Oh, I have no doubt.
I guarantee. Because he was
not
coroner.
only that, not only was he coroner, but he also ran the ambulance
Service. I was going to say, there was
So,
a time before that he was running the ambulance service.
Yes, so you two would talk
Oh
for
yeah,
hours.
and that's it, it's very cool because in doing that research, I was actually able to trace his beginning across the street.
Yes.
And then he went across the street and
yes.
started his own thing. So he was actually partners across the street.
Gordon Gash.
Yeah, the Gordon
and the
Gash.
funniest part was that that's when my mom fell for my dad, and she would drive up and down Main Street and honk the horn while he was working. Wouldn't you want to, Joyce?
I will tell you something about the Dowling house when it was a bed and breakfast, which this is a morbid fact. The kitchen that they prepared the food in was the old
Was the
embalming
embalming
room.
room?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the big steel door was there when we
Okay.
investigated it, and it actually still had the sink in there where they would lay the bodies and do all that. So I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
That place,
Well, let's
that
hope
place
it's
is hot. Right?
Very haunted.
Yes.
Very haunted.
Let's
Yes.
hope that's been cleaned.
Probably. Did not
Once or
take
twice.
luminol in there.
Once or twice. Yeah,
I'll tell
it's
you
been
the
cleaned.
the cool thing about the history part of this is I've got to basically crawl inside of rooftops, basements, crawl spaces of a lot of these buildings, and it's very neat because Tastefully Kentucky down here, Tastefully Delicious. Under theirs used to be an old carriage place, so they sold carriages and things under there. It was also a saloon at one time. So underneath their crawl space, there's broken bottles that date back probably to the 1800s or mid 1800s.
Oh, wow.
And they still have the cork tops, but they're broken, of course.
Right.
There's also, we found in there a front axle part of an old carriage. So there's just so much weird stuff. Just
So basically,
tucked away.
nobody ever cleaned anything out
No.
when they left.
They just
They just left
they
it.
just
That's
left.
basically what it comes
Yeah,
down
they
to.
just
Nobody ever
left
cleans
it.
anything out.
But yeah, so I'm the resident weirdo, and I've been an actor.
We don't think it's weird at all.
I think it's awesome.
We don't think it's weird at all. Not at all. So, now that leads us to our next big story, so we've talked about the Anderson Hotel. So we are going to be signing off here momentarily. And tomorrow, we are going to have a special treat for you because we are leaving here and we are going right over to Tiffany's favorite. We're going to go to the haunted house. Yes. And Mr. Producer's going with us, and he's going to video.
Oh my gosh, you all!
So we're going to be meeting Troy.
It's still haunted. Just so you know.
We're going to be meeting Troy.
I'm afraid that we've talked about all these spirits and they're just going to be alive. Because we talked with Jeff, who knows them.
The cool thing about the haunted house is it's loosely based on some of our research.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, and another thing, Troy has talked to me several times about stuff they've had happen up there since they've opened it. But the hotel is definitely a piece that you have to see, and maybe you can talk Troy into taking you down the old hallway, because the haunted house is in the newer looking side. The older side is where a lot of the ghosts are. So
That's just what she needed to know.
but here's a cool story, and just to kind of give you that. Troy asked me to come up there to talk to a couple of actors he was having that was just having issues up there. So we were walking down the old side 'cause he was showing me what he had done with the electricity of the place, and we had went, and the closet door where the guy hung himself was open.
Okay.
We were walking back down the old hallway, and I heard something moving in that room. So I simply walked in there and shut the door. And I told Troy, I said, that probably needs to stay shut. And then we walked on through. But the ghosts are still there.
So do they
They're
leave the
not
door
going
shut now?
anywhere. Yeah. Well, I guess. But there's the other side of the hallways where I had probably 60% of my experiences up there, because that's hardly changed at all. But yeah, so maybe
Okay.
you can talk him into that after you get the Jesus.
my gosh.
story.
Well, we
Okay.
can't go live from over there because we don't have enough juice.
No.
So we're going to
We
leave.
can't go live from over there anyway because we would probably get shut off Facebook.
The FCC.
Are they going to censor this? That's what we're gonna ask.
Yes, we gotta have Mr. Producer bleep us.
It is
because-
carpet, so if you wet your pants, it will absorb nicely. You'll be fine.
Oh my god.
Tiffany has depends.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
So we are going to go over there here momentarily.
You all, please
Pray for Tiffany.
pray for me.
I can't wait to see this.
And
Oh, Jeff.
we're gonna film it, and it probably won't air until tomorrow night, Mr. Producer. You think? So
It
Thursday
might
night.
take you 2 days to bleep everything out.
Might just be one continuous.
It might be beep, beep, beep.
Hey, you get to see
I'll
the
try
mattress.
I'll try to be good. Oh my god, we're gonna see
Yep.
the mattress.
The mattress is covered with plastic.
Okay.
It's protected.
Okay.
So it's there.
My nephew was like, "You're gonna scream you're gonna scream. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Whenever I do the ghost walk and they've got a line of people going into the haunted house, I always stop here, and this is where I talk about the hotel where everybody over there can
Here it's right.
Yeah, so that's
Stirring the pot just a little
gotta
bit.
stir the pot.
And Tia is not scared. This is not okay with me.
It's just not my personality. I'm sorry. Just saying. Maybe I'll be scared. Who knows?
I'm a big weenie, I guess.
I mean, I can be scared. I mean, if you pop out around the corner and I'm not expected to be there, I'm going to yell.
I don't do
I
haunted
scared
houses.
Beth today. We were watching something about the haunted house today, and she was sitting there, and she was showing it to me, and all of a sudden I went, boom! And she
See?
jumped out of her
See,
skin.
that's not me. No, that's not me.
I don't do haunted houses.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. You do it
Yeah,
all the
but-
time.
Kind of haunted house.
You know, if a ghost comes out and you're not expecting it, it's
Carrie
different.
Gabbert, I don't know if I can
But
do
you,
it.
you realize these people are just
I don't-
actors,
yeah,
right?
I can't
You
do
realize
that.
these people are just
I
actors.
know.
If somebody jumps out on me, I'll punch them.
These are people that we
can't do
know.
Can't do
These are the young boys. These are Tyler Smith. These are people that I know.
Okay.
Which is even worse. That makes it
Right,
worse.
right,
Oh my gosh.
right. So
Hey, y'all get Tia.
I'm sure that Troy has put them on alert for the past week.
And actually, I had my very
Confident.
first haunted experience whenever they were building whenever the American Legion used to do their haunted houses in town. Whenever they were on the hotel in Court Street, that's where I first experienced anything that was ghostly, and that kind of sent me on my path to look actively for
I don't
things.
remember it being up
Okay,
there.
so my
Yeah.
dad.
That's probably
used-
when I was living in Mercer
Yeah.
County.
My dad used to work the haunted houses for the Lions Club.
Yeah,
when
the
they
Lions
did
Club,
them.
yeah.
Yes, I remember that.
So we had a bunch of girls. My sister had friends over, and I had friends over one night, and we were all sitting in the living room. I think we were watching like Friday the 13th or something because it was Halloween or
Right.
it was near Halloween. And
hello, you lived in a funeral home.
no, we lived in a funeral home.
Even
so,
better.
and Jeff's like, oh man. So we were all just sitting in there watching a movie, and Dad comes sneaking up the stairs, and he's still all made up from working in the haunted house. He scares the bejesus out of us. I mean, totally scares us. I think somebody went home that night. I can't remember
See,
which girlfriend.
I
went
would
home,
be
but
the
somebody went
friend
home.
that would be going, can I go down to the embalming room? Will you take me down there and show me around? I'd be that person.
Oh, we had those.
So-
we had those friends too.
I'd be that person.
So the hotel up there, we were locking up one night after we'd been working on it, and it's before it opened. And we came out, and we heard footsteps coming up the stairs, and we could see the staircase. I mean, there was absolutely nobody
Nothing there?
there, and they stopped about probably 3 or 4 steps before the top. So we walked over, and there was dust on the steps. The door was blocked off. There was nobody there. Now, I'd always been interested in this stuff, but I was about 15 then. So I was like, I've got to figure out what made that happen. So that kind of really
And here
set
you
me
are.
on. And here I am. I've went
And
on.
he's our Lawrenceburg ghost walk man.
I am, and I'm into all the weird.
All right, so Mr. Producer says wrap it up because we got somewhere to be. So we will see you tomorrow night, just not live.
Just not live.
And maybe we'll...
Heavily censored, probably.
Yeah.
And we'll probably see you after Halloween. So make sure you share all of your pictures of your
Cute kids. That's one of my favorite parts.
all dressed up. And come see me. I'll be downtown handing out cookies. Remember that I did not bake.
Yes. And I'll be putting on my personal Facebook page about how whether Tiffany survives it tonight or not.
Oh my God.
We'll see y'all next week.
Bye. Have a
Bye-bye.
great week.
Bye.